Now, JoyNews investigations have revealed how a company linked to the Deputy Sanitation Minister, Amidu Isahaku Senior, and registered in the names of his brother, cousin, and personal driver, won government contract at the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council during his tenure as Deputy Regional Minister. The Batosi Company Limited was set up in 2017, barely a month after his appointment, and in the same year won a 2.6 million cedi planting for food and jobs contract. They were again awarded a 12.6 million cedi road contract in 2019 by the Upper West Regional Coordinating Council. My colleague Kejetia has the full details of our latest documentary later this evening on JoyNews at 8:30 p.m. But in the meantime, here is an excerpt of what to expect.
A 12 million cedi road contract assigned to a company owned by close associates of a minister in the Akufo-Addo government.
There will be conflict of interest. Once it's your brother or even any close associate, you have interest. You want the success of the person.
After 3 years, the road construction works have not been completed.
First, like if they even leave the road the first way, it was even better than now. Now there is very bad.
Another 2.6 million cedis planting for food and jobs contracts allotted to the same company.
The ministry has taken the necessary steps to engage the then Deputy Regional Minister how to structure the payment, so it is being done.
The GRA tax audit of the company reveals interesting details. Caught in conflict.
Make a date with us at 8:30 p.m. on this channel for the full documentary. In the meantime, would Ghana ever make progress in its fight against corruption, particularly with regards to conflict of interest? Seems the problem might be widespread than we can imagine. This brings to the contract for sale by Ace investigative journalist Manasseh Azure Awini. How many more of such cases can the country be possibly dealing with, and who is watching the watchman to check all of these routes in the public sector? Well, joining me live for this is the Director of Programs at the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Mary Ada, for some perspectives. Good morning to you, and thanks very much for your time. Let's start off with this. How many more of such cases can the country be possibly dealing with, and who is watching the watchman to check all of these routes in the public sector? All right, so we'll return to the story later on so we can have a chat on this particular one. But victims of an alleged police brutality in the Mamprogo Meduri, the district of the Northeast region, are pleading for assistance for treatment. The victims include a 40-year-old farmer, Razak Ibrahim, who is said to have suffered severe injuries to his waist and eye, demanding urgent medical care. They were said to have been assaulted last week when armed security personnel invaded their communities, arresting over 20 others over the death of a suspected robber. Correspondent Elias Utanko has more on this. But let's revert to Mary Ada and have that chat with him. She's in charge of programs at the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Thank you very much for joining us here on the news desk on JoyNews. Now, how much more of these cases can we possibly be dealing with?
Thank you very much, Kojo. Good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. From all indication, this is not new. And this will not be new. In fact, it will be surprising if we say it is the first occurrence of it. No. And judging from the past 2 years or thereabouts on a similar instance, even though this was at a higher level, I believe such cases abound. These are two. And there have been a lot more issues when it comes to perceptions of public officers holding interest in other companies. And in the past, this resulted in a call from civil society and other bodies to ensure that in the Companies Act, the revised one and now the new one, we have issues around beneficial ownership being incorporated. We are the better for it because it's now giving us the opportunity to then be able to not speak from a perception point of view, but to go to the Registrar General to acquire some of this information to determine how some of these things happen. It is a good thing that now we have a freedom of information law as well that is assisting journalists and civil society and all persons interested in acquiring information on the dealings of public office holders. And again, let me quickly say that it is not for anything that the Constitution clearly specifies in Article 284 that a public officer holding office should ensure that the performance of his duty does not conflict with that of his personal interests. We know as human beings we are not perfect, and for that matter we need to ensure that we do things in the right way. So laws are made in that regard to ensure that we are all put in check as duty bearers, as right holders, and whoever the stakeholder may be, that we do the right thing in our capacity. And so it's unfortunate that these things happen, but it is not new. And we believe that going forward, our regimes would even be stronger and even more robust. And if we add that to political commitment, then we would be making a headway in the fight against corruption. For unscrupulous persons and people who believe that they would drain this nation dry, we should all look at what we can do to ensure that we curtail some of these gaps that have existed.
This case brings to mind that of the former CEO of the Public Procurement Authority. Now, people are seeing him walk around, even having access to his finance. We heard that some time ago. If that happens, that doesn't give that power to other people to say, well, I can do it because nothing will happen.
But that is not true. You see, when anybody says that they can do it because nothing would happen, it is not true. If you remember, the president himself sent this issue before Shraj. And in that doing, there were some findings that were made by Shraj to ensure that this does not happen again. And one of them was the fact that this person, and particularly in our case, when the Ghana Integrity Initiative sent the same issue to be determined by Shraj when it comes to the area around the mandate of the board, and specifically on issues of conflict of interest by the former CEO. The determination was that he does not hold public office for an additional 5 years. And so the PPA boss has been banned from holding public office for 10 years, and which is running concurrently with that which the president sent. A lot of other actions, and these are punitive enough. And remember, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, again, is before the courts. And so even though this is yet to be determined, it does not portend that it is all is well and rosy for him. There were gaps in the law, admittedly, that allowed for the gentleman to go forth and then was able to withdraw some monies from his account. And if you heard the lawyers, they indicated that these were normal transactions they were making. As to whether that's correct or not is for the courts to determine. But that does not mean that he is getting away with the issues of taking the money and getting away. If the court so determined, most definitely he would have assets, and these assets can be confiscated. And when you look at the Special Prosecutors Act, I don't remember the particular section right now because I'm not looking into the law, but there are issues around where confiscations can be made. And so do not let people generalize and conclude that this nothing could come out of it. It is not the case. The former PPA boss is at the courts and he needs to determine, in this case, that he's not guilty. Otherwise, the state would win. And if the state wins, then we all would see some benefits thereof.
So what
but
do you...
Again, let me quickly say that...
I'm listening.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to find out from you what
let me quickly say... Come again, I didn't get
So I wanted to find out from you what you expect to see of this particular case. This one, for example.
Okay, so it is very clear, and you know we have history to then judge this issue by, and so it's the list or the minimum we expect from the appointing authority, who is our president, is that this gentleman is asked to step aside for an investigation to proceed as quickly as possible.
All right.
Again, this issue should be sent to charge. And let me say that we do not hold any grudge. We do not know this gentleman. But what we are saying is that there are clear issues of breaches of the Procurement Act, whether he is involved or not. And if you read the sections 22 of the Public Procurement Act, it talks about qualification. And in the qualification, it speaks to issues around technical capacity. It speaks to issues around logistics. It speaks to issues around capacity of the persons in the company. And one of them, let me bring so that maybe to determine the president's decision as quickly as possible, is the fact that if the company had the capacity, then why were they selling the contract to another company to execute? Clearly, we know that the company didn't have the capacity, and the competence and expertise is built over time. So for a company that was registered in 2017, it would be difficult for me to agree or comprehend that any proper tendering process would determine that these were the competent persons who have the credibility, track record, expertise, and the logistics to mobilize to site and do so. And for instance, now that nothing has been done, it is a clear instance that less than 3% of the job has been executed, not by the company which won the contract, but by the one they sold it to. It means that what was done for the geese in the past should be done for the gander in this case. Otherwise, the fight against corruption, we would all see, is a joke.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Mary Ada, for joining us. She is the Director of Programs at the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Now, moving on. The several calls for government through the Ministry of Finance to pay the allowance of health assistants across the country seems unending, with the National Health Student Association of Ghana threatening a strike action to demand the payment of the allowance. The group, made up of the allied health student and the nurses and midwife trainees, are demanding the payment of their rotation allowance and also the nursing student trainee allowances. Joining us on Zoom is the Vice President for the National Health Student Association of Ghana, Musabi Balom Rahim. Thank you very much for joining us. How many months are you owed by now? Hello, Rahim. If you can hear me, how many months are you owed in terms of your allowances? Okay, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the details of this story and more. Stay with us. Now, managers of the Kejetia market and the traders front are meeting the electricity company of Ghana in an attempt to get electricity supply restored to the market. Power to the entire market has been disconnected since Tuesday over unpaid electricity bills. The market leaders and management intend to make commitment towards a part payment by issuing a post-dated check. The utility provider is expecting payment of about 1 million cedis of the accrued sum of 5 million. Nana Aljima joins us with more.
Kejetia market has over 8,000 stores and other spaces for trade. Per the architecture, the market depends heavily on electricity to keep it illuminated. Since the disconnection, the market has been dark and quiet. Many shops remain closed as the once vibrant headquarters moving goods in the market take a rest.
Business is very slow. Our patrons can't see us in the dark, so we are forced to pitch camp here.
Individual stores have made provisions for bulbs to improve lighting. Unfortunately, the space within the stores remain dark. In their quest to get individual access to electricity, traders agreed to pay 850 cedis for separate meters and installation. The agreement between management of the market, ECG and Gamma Power Distribution Limited was subsequently abrogated. The traders in the past 10 months have refused to pay accrued electricity bills to protest the termination of the agreement.
Oh, any bill that they're supposed to give to us this time, we are ready to pay. But we don't believe our management. Even at all, if we are paying money, we want to pay the money direct to the electricity company.
Oh, after this management, I don't trust them. So if any different management will come for the money, I will accept it. After this management, I don't trust them. I'm going to say, see the car.
This is one of the busiest areas within the Kumasi Kejetia market. It's a shop for dressmakers in the market, and on normal days it's very difficult for anyone to have his way walk through the area like this. But due to the absence of power in this shop, the traders or dressmakers here are forced to stay in their homes, leaving the place empty. Francis Kwating is one of over 60 dressmakers here. To meet deadline, his client aids his work with light from a mobile phone. With one hand, the tailor tries to power the sewing machine in the absence of electricity.
My fingers hurt, but I have to finish this because I can't refund the money. I've spent over 2 hours on an hour job. 2 hours. Oh, Kebianka, Memphans 1 hour be Memphans 5 minutes be crying a bit my by. You must spend the brute 2 hours.
The butchery in the market perhaps is the worst affected. Meat stocked by the butchers are deteriorating due to lack of electricity to power diffusers here. Some of them have lost thousands of cedis to the challenge.
We have thrown away some of the meat. We pray the power is restored soon.
Until the problem is fixed, traders will continue to lose revenue. Managing Director of Kumasi City Markets, Kofi Dufour, speaks about the way forward.
Tying the meters to the power that they've consumed is another argument altogether. We need to make some payment. So when we went to ECG, if I'm coming from ECG, they've told us, yes, if we don't do 50% down payment on power that we have consumed, they are not going to restore the lights. Because they did that 8 months ago and we didn't make any payment. we asked for a moratorium of 2 months to be able to mobilize and come and pay an agreed percentage so that we would have a payment plan to clear whatever outstanding balance that there is. And they will still not agree.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
So from Kumasi, let's return to our earlier story where the health assistants are demanding for the payment of the arrears owed them by the state. We've been joined on the line by the Vice President for the association. Good morning to you and thanks very much for your time. In terms of arrears, how many months are we looking at? Hello, Balom Rahim, can you hear me? If you can, I'm trying to find out from you how many months you are being owed and what steps have you been taking to get this issue resolved? I think we're having challenges with Rahim's line there. Now, let's move on to other stories. Victims of an alleged police brutality in the Mamprugu Meduri district of the Northeast region are pleading for assistance for treatment. The victims include a 40-year-old farmer, Razak Ibrahim, who is said to have suffered severe injuries to his waist and eye, demanding urgent medical care. They were said to have been assaulted last week when armed security personnel invaded their communities, arresting over 20 others over the death of a suspected robber. Correspondent Elias Utanko has more.
Of June 18th at about 2 a.m., as members of this small community were asleep in their rooms, over 200 armed military and police personnel sneaked into the district and descended on them without any warning. One after the other, according to the accounts of the residents, the armed security personnel created a blockade around the community to prevent them from fleeing before knocking at every door and arresting almost every male adult in the community. The operation, which the residents describe as violent and chaotic, ended with the arrest of 25 people, including a minor. This man, Saibu Yakubu, said to be among those arrested during the security invasion, presented these huge stakes as evidence that the security personnel had assaulted them during the operation. These are the canes they used to beat us before arresting us. I didn't know why we were being arrested until I got to Nalirgo, where they accused us of killing a Fulani and secretly burying him. I denied knowing anything about the allegations. They insisted and referred me to a robbery attack that they said occurred at the fuel station over there. I told them I was in Tamale on that day. This was what I gave them. However, what the security personnel did to us was horrible. The whole village was horrified that some women had miscarriages and children fled into the bush. We are still looking for some, and our brother Razak was brutally assaulted. Sources in the community have shown that not only were the residents painfully arrested, but the security personnel also carried out violence against some of them, leading to severe injuries. One of the victims, who claimed that he was attacked by over 20 officers, said he has suffered injuries to his waist and sides. The victim, Razak, can now barely stand on his feet after the alleged police brutality. He recounts his ordeal by firstly denying any involvement in the death of the suspected robber. I heard screams coming from the direction of a senior brother. The noise was unusual, so I decided to go to his rescue. I picked up my shirt and asked my wife to stay indoors. Before I could step out of their room, they accosted me and started to punch me. Soon, they kicked me to the ground and continued to beat me mercilessly. Can you see what they did to my eyes? They used the butt of the guns to repeatedly hit my face and attempted to break my neck. With swollen and reddish eyes, he is now being assisted to sit up from his lying position. I have pains all over my body, particularly in my waist, my neck, and my knees. He's now appealing for immediate assistance for treatment while calling for justice. What I have to say is an appeal for assistance for treatment. I have no other source of livelihood apart from farming, but with this condition, I wouldn't be able to provide for my family unless I get treatment. The Regional Police Command is yet to comment on the operation, but according to the Regional Minister, it was in connection with the death of a Burkinabe national killed in a boat robbery attack on the 20th of last month in the area. The residents, however, insist that the deceased individual was part of a 4-member gang who had attacked and stolen an amount of 15,000 Ghana cedis from this fuel station. The police have since released 21 of those arrested, with the remaining 4 still in custody, including a final year student of Yagaba Senior High School. His father is appealing to the police to release him and also to the regional authorities to come to the support of the victims of the brutality. We are not animals living in this community. Why must we die because a Fulani has been killed? And they brought over 11 vehicles full of police and soldiers to invade us, and there's no authority to speak up on our behalf. Because we do not have a president, no minister, not even our MP or DC, we appeal to them to come to our aid. My son was not around when the incident happened, yet he was arrested and is still being kept in Nairobi. He's a final year student and appeals to them to release him to continue his education. Elias Sutanko reporting for Joy News.
Now, motorists plying a road leading to the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council are calling on authorities to prune overgrown weeds creeping onto the road. Drivers say it has become dangerous negotiating the sharp curve on the road located in the Danyame residential area, as portions of it are covered in weed. Pedestrians and motorists who ply the stretch say it is risky using the route, especially at night. Love FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku interacted with some road users and has filed this report.
Weeds along the sharp curve have crept onto the road, narrowing the already slender route. Drivers who ply the stretch describe the area as a breeding ground of fatal road accidents. Ejamenu, a commercial driver, recounts a near rear-on collision with an oncoming vehicle. It was raining, and because we usually use bright lights during such times, I nearly crashed into an oncoming vehicle because I couldn't see it coming. The stretch joins the main route to the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council and the Presidential Residency from Danyame. Commercial drivers in the residential area tell Love News it's precarious negotiating the bend at night, especially for persons who are unacquainted of the road. It's scary using the road at night, especially for weeder drivers. Because of the bush, it's really dangerous using the road. This guardrail that is meant to protect pedestrians that ply the stretch, and also as an indication for oncoming vehicles that this is a sharp curve, is now covered in weeds. It makes it difficult for drivers who use this stretch to go to the other side, and even those coming from the other end to know whether they are directly inside the curve. The speed ramp signage engulfed in the bush is not only elusive to drivers, but its complementary structure, meant to slow down speeding vehicles, has lost its navigation to the road. The section covered by weeds, we are told, was demarcated for construction of a pedestrian walkway. But pedestrians have to alternatively use the more perilous side of the road. We have no space to walk by the road unless we walk inside of the road.
A car nearly knocked me down whilst I was walking. When the car is coming, it is very difficult for you to give way for the car to pass.
The stretch leading to Golden Tulip Hotel from the Regional Lands Commission office is no different. So you can imagine the difficulty pedestrians and drivers have to endure during the night using the stretch. Until the weeds along the roads are pruned, they could potentially cost a life. For Joy News, Emmanuel Bright Kweku reporting.
Now, heavy rains continue to cause havoc and destruction in several parts of the western region. One of the worst hit areas is the Elembelle district, where over 150 houses have collapsed in the aftermath of the torrential rains. Correspondent Inathalia Kwanzaa reports that hundreds of people have been displaced. The residents are appealing to the government for help to relocate to higher grounds.
Nzimai Kropon, a predominantly cocoa-growing community in the Elembelle district of the western region, is surrounded by 5 rivers. In the event of continuous rains, almost all the rivers overflow their banks and submerge the entire community, which is a low-lying area, leaving in its wake an annual destruction of property. After 2 days of torrential rainfall last week, more than 100 homes collapsed, rendering over 750 people homeless.
But it has happened before. I think about 13, 12 years ago, it happened. It came for the second time, but this is the third time. But it has destroyed properties. Fortunately for us, it didn't lose any life. Fortunately for us, it didn't lose any life. So what we are saying is that the Honorable DC, collaboration with the government of the day and other non-governmental agencies, for example, the Adamus and Co, should come into our aid and help us to relocate from here to a new site. Unfortunately for Nananum, they have given us a very nice land. It was very severe, because as we speak now, my people don't have any place to sleep. It's the churches that are done us a favor. So some of my people are sleeping in various churches' rooms. And then the school too, we have given it to some of them, some of the victims. So they are all sleeping there. And as you all know, we are in the rainy season. The mosquitoes and other rodents, it's really disturbing them. Every night we kill a snake.
Adamus for Yadamasi, Yamishilam. There's some Yamaya and Mayama. Now, they see what had an eye on, say, the name Sebaba tree. It's your eye, who announced a dumb. Miniama Quanagro, so actually, the batch of Quanaya one crane. Yawa now what the Amudinam soon mo. Or what Premle, and Katuan and Penny, and you had one for her now, baby cloud on Iden. Eddie, see, and so Yanko Powder, you don't form on the boy. I'm here to me, he's adding floor. Yes, Slamo, Yamum, and I'm pay baby and Gumai. I said about her, maybe young calling, you know, Yabedan, Belco, I'm a watchly, in Tiadamasi, and Yaslam so, Mua bang.
This is the third time in 12 years that the community has seen such magnitude of destruction at the peak of a raining season. Feeding has become difficult as farms and other sources of food are all underwater now. Many people have lost almost everything, including monies through the flood. Adamus Mines, which operates in the Elembelle district, presented relief items such as bags of rice, cooking oil, sugar, and mackerels to those affected.
It's a simple disaster had happened in the area, and we think, looking around at the level of distress created by the rains in these two communities, which fall inside our catchment area, we think it is part of the social responsibility to be able to help and do what we can to relieve the plight of the people who are affected. As we speak, we understand some of the houses, residences are underwater. The people do not have a means of traveling outside anywhere to be able to get access to some of the food items, and we think this is the best way we can support.
The Elembelle District Chief Executive Kwesi Bonzo is happy about what he says is a timely intervention. He, however, says relocating the community is the best option to save lives and property.
This is the third time it's happening within the last 12 years. And this year is worse as compared to the previous two. So we're here, Natmo team was here Sunday to observe it. The whole place was submerged underwater. As you can see, there's a river all around it. And it looks like the current community was built on an island. By the time it was being built, they settled on the high areas. But as the community expanded, it's gone close to the river. So anytime there's any heavy downpour, then the water comes. But this time, it was very serious. So the entire community, as we went round and took the inventory, close to 150 households have been completely destroyed, pulled down by the water. They can't have anywhere to even sleep. Now, each household has a minimum of about 6-7 people. Some have as much as 10. So you are looking at over 1,000 people internally displaced. And in our interaction with the community, we've all come to a consensus that the community has to be relocated because it keeps recurring. It's the third time. So the community identified a new site, which is virtually a virgin land, which means that social amenities has to be provided: road, electricity, water, and everything. And also they should be assisted to rebuild their various households.
Many members of the community say they are afraid that they might lose the entire town and their property as the rains continue to batter the area. For Joy News, in Athalia Kwanza, Elembelle.
Now, lawyers for the Ghana Police Service have been giving up until 11:30 a.m. to study and respond to document urging an Accra High Court to allow a pressure group to stage a protest. The police is in court seeking to halt the two-day protest set to commence on Tuesday. The service is in a statement alleged that the group, Arise Ghana, had refused to agree to begin and end the demonstration before night falls. The group, however, contends it reached an agreement with the police and it's surprised at the turn of event. DSP Sylvester Asari on Monday urged the court to adjourn the matter since the police was yet to receive document found by the protesters. He asked for a two-day adjournment, but court correspondent Joseph Akable joins us live with more. Joe, what more can you report?
Ghana, led by Edwin Tamaklo, they disagreed with the request for adjournment. As the argument is that the protest is supposed to take place tomorrow, and the police, as far back as June 2, were made aware of the June 28th protest. And so should the court grant this adjournment to effectively mean that the court would have stopped the protesters from going ahead with the protest on Tuesday. And so he said that the court should, in the exceptional nature of this particular matter, adjourn the matter briefly to enable the police, the lawyers for the police service to study the documents, and then if they have any responses to give, then they give those responses. But as far as they are concerned, the argument and the ruling on the said protest must take place today because arrangements have already been made, and their organizers, as well as those who be participating in the protest, are very much aware and preparing to stage the protest tomorrow. And so if the court has any intention of halting it or permitting them to go ahead with the protest, that should be dealt with today. And so the court took the view that the matter should be adjourned to 11:30. So the expectation is that by 11:30, the Ghana Police Service would have studied the documents that have been filed by the protesters, and if they have any responses, they'll make it known to the court, after which they'll make the legal argument as to why they believe the protest should not come off tomorrow. Then the lawyers for the Arise Ghana group will also be here. The expectation is that the court will deliver everything on this matter.
All right, thank you very much. That's our court correspondent, Joseph Akable there. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you the latest in business. Stay with us.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. Hayford Atakofi says the best way to cure age-old poverty is to have pension schemes that also cover the informal sector, which constitutes the majority of the Ghanaian populace. Speaking at a breakfast meeting with the CEO program in Sunyane in the Bono region, Mr. Atakofi also said workers must go beyond pension contributions and equally be interested in their pension providers to ensure an early resolution of challenges. Precious Semebo has more.
The National Pensions Regulatory Authority, established by the National Pensions Act 2008, regulates and monitors the operations of the three-tier pension scheme and ensures the effective administration of all pensions in Ghana. Breakfast with the CEO program in Sunyani, in the Bono region by the authority, brought together some industry players and formal and informal sector workers to engage in accessible pensions for all. It was also a platform for the CEO of NPRA, Hayford Atakrofi, to respond to some concerns of stakeholders, such as the illiquidity issues of Senate.
Because their investments were locked into the real estate, it would take some time to restructure their portfolio. So currently, yes, we do have some problems as far as the illiquidity of the assets are, but we are now giving them some time to restructure their portfolio to ensure that they are more liquid. If SNIT collapses, it will be the Ghana government that will have to pay it, because the Ghana government is the underwriter. So as regulators, we will not sit back and allow SNIT to collapse or lock all their assets into real estate and therefore don't have enough money to be paying benefits. I think every month, SNIT is paying benefits to the tune of about 250 million Ghana cedis. So that is a lot that has to go out, and therefore SNIT needs the liquidity to be able to continue to pay benefits, plus indexation that they add to every year, about 10% on average. So they need the liquidity, and therefore their investments will have to be spread across all the investable areas.
Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Atakrofi said 80% of the population are in the informal sector, and it is important to have them covered by the schemes to help cure old age poverty.
Sometimes there's a misconception and a perception that pension is only for the formal sector workers, but it's for the informal sector, and basically for every Ghanaian from the age of 15 who earns any form of income to be able to participate, so that when they retire one day, they can have a retirement income security. Because before the new pension system came into effect, it was only the formal sector workers, and there was the old age poverty, which was affecting the informal sector workers mostly, because majority of our people in Ghana are in the informal sector. So if you want to cure old age poverty, the best way to tackle it is to make sure that pension is covered in the informal sector.
He advised pension contributors to be interested in the providers of their schemes.
SNIT is a household name, so for Tier 1, it becomes very easy to sell the idea about the Tier 1 pensions. When it comes to the Tier 2, because it is the private sector providers, and there are about 30 corporate trustees, and therefore it is important for workers to understand that it is not only the contribution, but also knowing who is the provider and getting statements from your provider, and also getting any complaints that you may have resolved by your provider. And if they are not able to, then you can resort to MPRA for any advice.
Precious Semebo, Joy Business, Sunyani.
Now, according to a recent research by the Ghana Enterprises Agency, most micro, small and medium-sized firms in Ghana are reluctant to formalize their operations because of taxes. Associate Professor of Economics at the University of Ghana, Professor Ibrahim, indicates that this is impeding the activities of MSMEs, with only 15% of them collaborating with banks to grow their businesses and 13% applying for loans. Here's more.
The baseline research will assist the Ghana Enterprise Agency in developing policies that are supported by facts and will have an influence on the sector of micro, small and medium-sized businesses. The report states that majority of micro, small and medium-sized businesses engage in agro-processing. Professor Ibrahim contends that these small enterprises lack technical innovation and low rate of technological adoption.
So the key highlights are the following. One, most firms are informal. Most firms are not innovative. Most firms are micro, small-sized. Most firms also have low foreign technological adoption. Most firms do not export, but we have a high proportion of these firms employing skilled labor, In fact, about 50% of the labor force that we find in the micro and small enterprises are skilled labor force, which also means that our micro, small, medium enterprises have the capacity to adopt technology because they have skilled manpower. And so it's important that if they are not adopting foreign technology to expand their businesses, they are supported to do so.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer for the Ghana Enterprises Agency, Kejetia Aye, indicated that her outfit will continue to engage and sensitize small businesses across the country.
I think that businesses are not formalized not only because of taxation, but for comfort. And I think that one of the things we need to address is really for them to understand what formalization is about. If you're worried about growing your business and building a better future for you and your family in some instances, then that's a challenge. And the reason why I say that is a challenge is that when you ask the businesses what their major challenges are, they say access to finance. Now, if access to finance is a challenge for you, why is that a challenge? It's because your businesses are not formalized. And what I mean, or what everyone means by formalization, that they don't have the right documentation. They're not keeping the right books. So if you're not keeping the right documentation or the right books, which bank will open their doors for you? The banks won't open their doors. Which institution will talk to you? No one will talk to you. Even when they open their doors and they ask you, what do your books look like? You don't have any data. So as much as possible, the formalization is needed if we're going to address the challenges of access to finance. Now you talk about access to markets. Who wants to work with a business that they don't even know where it exists or if it's actually going to provide the tools and the services it needs? So formalization is key. So you build stronger relationships.
All right, and that's your business update. Stay tuned. Sports is coming up next.
Okra skips past Caleb Amankwa. Good play from Okra. Sends it across. Here is Paul Quay Jr. Quay Jr. Good save from Richmond IE. And it's a power drive that is saved again by the Fabian keeper from Clinton Dodu. Here's Costa now. Siraj for Hartsabok. Goes past Chine, finds Daniel free Banye. Here is Banye. Good tackle from Esel.
Still Navi. Hartlepool's best chances are falling to.
Finished impressively. Latif Annabella finds Augustin Okra. Okra on his right foot. Ayi puts it down in Savagnon, who puts Pechem United ahead. Are up by 1-0 with a minute to 45 minutes of fun.
Just here at the place. Ayi should be doing a lot better with it. Ayi doesn't parry it away from danger, but parries it right into the path of Avagnon, who has time and space to take one touch and finish.
Samuel Inkum goes low. He finds Barnier. Back to Inkum. Inkum whips in across. It's Caleb Amankwa on the volley. An amazing finish. This is classic. What a beauty! Oh, goodness me. Born and bred in Kumasi.
It's been breathtaking. The way they work the free kick is good. Barnier replied to Inkum and Inkum's whip. It's a cutback. Oh, that's a special skill. And the goalkeeper, Abdullah Idrisu, is rooted to his spot because the effort is perfect from Caleb Amankwa.
Quay Jr. Okra. Here is Augustin Okra. Good block from Mohamed Al Hassan.
He offers very different player from who York is.
And there he goes with a pass to Awaku, who sends a crossing. Oh, the Fabians! And up by 2-1. Daniel Efriye Banya, the birthday boy, has a goal in the finals of the MTN FA Cup. He turned 21 years today.
Banya's run again, intelligent, into the near side, and Awaku is not crossing it. He's actually passing it into Banya. And Banya opens himself up and just guides the ball into the back of the net. It's a world-class finish.
Well, I'm obviously not a happy man, but I have to be excited for Hartlepool. I mean, those were some extremely brilliant goals there. Especially the one, I mean, the two goals are all brilliant.
They're all brilliant.
Very, very. No. But Barnier should be giving, look, that's a striker's goal. The way he had to know where he was, where the goalkeeper was, and the sort of touch he had to just have on the ball.
There's this thing he has.
What?
He has the striker's instincts. You know where to be at what time, and then how to take a ball on. That was exactly what we saw yesterday. I think for the whole House of Folk team, it was quite a good performance. It was House of Folk of old, House of Folk of last season that we saw. They never give up, even after going a goal down. And one thing that I liked about it, even at a goal down, they had 3 minutes to go into halftime. They kept the composure, kept fighting, kept training, everything at Bechem United until they got the equalizer. Back from recess, they straight into action. They chased the goal that would win them the ultimate. And I think Samuel Boadu achieved quite a remarkable feat yesterday because he became just the second head coach to win the FA Cup in back-to-back seasons. After Sir Jones, Cecil Atukwe. Yeah. And
also with Hearts of Folk?
Yes, he also did it with Hearts of Folk in 1999 and then 2000. Hearts of Folk now become the record holders of the MTN FA Cup because they've now won it 12 times in their history.
How many does Kotoko have?
I think they have more than Kotoko. Kotoko should be around 10, 11, but has have one and more. So now Hearts of Folk will represent Ghana in the CAF Confederations Cup. While Kotoko represents Ghana
Champions League.
Yeah. The last time this happened was I think the 2014-2015 season. So good times to look forward to in terms of the future of Ghana football. We hope that they will do their best to bring back the glory days because we miss it. We miss continental football in Ghana.
Thank you very much, Lawrence, for joining us with the sport. Well, like I said, kudos to Hearts of Folk anyway. That's how we wrap up today's edition of the Joy News Desk. There's more news at myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Good morning.